I am very pleased to announce that the Bluegrass Boost Battle is back for the spring of 2024, and I'm so excited. This is probably one of my favorite lands that I have ever had the privilege of working. I worked it in the fall in Lexington, Kentucky, and BBB was fantastic. And now, we're back for the spring, so I'm making a video breaking down all the teams, my expectations, the format, everything I can possibly think of right now, because I didn't write a script or anything for this, so we're just going off the cuff for this video. We'll see what happens. First up, the formats, and this is going to look familiar to those that have watched BBB in the past, because this was definitely the format for the last semester at the very least. But it's 20 teams divided into 4 groups of 5. Round robin play decides the top 3 in each group, with the winners getting a bye into the round of 8 in the single elimination bracket that's played on day 2. Seeds 2 and 3 out of each group are then shuffled up and played in kind of another round of 8 to see who then advances to the 8-team single elimination bracket with those number 1 seeds. Then it's just single elimination from there. You know how that works until we get to our number 1 overall finisher, the winner that takes home a bulk of the $2,500 prize pool that BBB is boasting this semester, which is just awesome. Like, it was $1,500 just last semester, and they've upgraded it by another K, which is unbelievable that this kind of support is being given to these schools. It's 2 thumbs up from me, BBB. Love you. Keep it up. All right, I'm going to start by talking about groups 3 and 4. I'm starting a little backwards here in terms of chronological order, because I've got a guest analyst coming in to talk about groups 1 and 2. So I want to break down our 3rd and 4th groups. And the way that these groups are laid out: Group 3 is King University, Cincinnati Red, Northern Kentucky, Kentucky Blue, which is the A team, and Cumberland Black, which is the B team. And this is honestly one of the closer groups. I'm very curious to see how this plays out, because I think Cincinnati honestly could probably play King very close when it comes to deciding who's going to take that group. So 1 and 2 are really up in the air, but 3 through 5, I think the same exact thing. Cumberland Black, Kentucky, and Northern Kentucky are all fairly close in skill level. Personally, I might have Kentucky as the favorites out of those 2 to nab that last 3 spots, and I've got predictions coming up in a little bit, so you'll see that reflected there. But with Kentucky kind of changing up the roster a little bit, playing with Huds, Fern, Chipmunk Man alongside Unfriable Apples, they in the SEL have looked a lot better than I expected them to. They've been playing up to competition very well. Northern Kentucky playing without Toasty this semester, despite being the runners-up from last fall. They are going through a roster revamp right now, with Pig the only returner from the last BBB. So they've still got some sorting out to do. And same deal in the SEL. They've had some decent results, but they're still looking a little shaky in my book. And Cumberland Black, I haven't had the chance to look at yet, but they made a swap with Cumberland Maroon. The roster for Black has now been infused with Aurora, who was previously on Cumberland Maroon, and he's an incredibly mechanical player, so that could be an upgrade for Cumberland Black once he's playing alongside Kenyon in the end of you. So Cumberland Black did fairly well. They beat Maroon last semester with little different variations of the roster, but that should be a very interesting bottom of that group. And King, the reigning champs of BBB, playing without Turbo though this semester. Big Wade has been called up to the starting lineup for this one. You know, he watched last semester's LAN from the booth and the bleachers, because he did join me for that interview, which was a lot of fun. But King, not the same powerhouse they once were, but they're still the number 3 seed overall in this tournament for a reason. Big Wade isn't Turbo, but he's still Big Wade. So King, definitely the favorites in this group. Cincinnati in the last BBB actually placed top 8 on that LAN, and they lost to King in the round of 8. So that's not a bad loss for them at all. So could potentially see them getting a little bit of revenge in the 3rd match of Group 3 happening at 2 p.m. So this Group 3 really, really interesting and could be very close at the end of the day. And Group 4, made up of South Carolina, Concord, UAH Blue, Western Kentucky, and Mount Aloysius. Another pretty close one when it comes down to who might be winning this group. I honestly think any one of South Carolina, Concord, and UAH Blue could take the #1 spot there depending on who is on the day. I've yet to see UAH Blue play on LAN with this new roster of theirs. Cozen getting called up from UAH White. But they placed top 4 at the last BBB with Camille in the lineup, who I would argue is a lesser player than Cozen, but had insane chemistry with B-More and Josh. So I don't know what to expect out of the Chargers in this group. But South Carolina, the 1 seed, they have been a little shaky on LAN at the past. Even Katz told me, and this was almost a year ago now, but he told me they weren't a great LAN team and had some things to figure out, which they've had 10 months to figure that out since he and I talked about that. But they're the #1 seed for a reason. Again, they are my favorites to win this group if they don't capitulate on LAN here, which I don't expect them to. But with Concord right behind them, I could see a repeat of last BBB out of Concord, where they won their group. It was a chaotic Group 4. Concord topped their group, got UAH White, which is the B team, in the round of 8, and then they played Northern Kentucky in the semifinals. So Concord's a really good team. I think they're returning most of, if not the full same roster from last semester's BBB. So Concord's going to be a threat. And then down at the bottom side of the group in terms of seeding, Western Kentucky, they didn't make playoffs in the last BBB, but still a solid team. Mount Aloysius, I think, is the unknown factor for me. I haven't gotten to watch them play too much, but in the qualifier, they got swept by the Cincinnati B or C team. I'm not sure which one, but either way, they got swept and were one of the last 2 teams to qualify for BBB. So we'll see how they fare in group number 4 here. Now to break down groups 1 and 2, I have got a very special guest analyst making his, I think, official LAN debut as a caster in Mr. DJTJ. So TJ, go ahead, break down groups 1 and 2 for us.
What's going on, guys? It is DJTJ, guest analyst chosen by the wonderful Mr. Bepic himself. It is a pleasure to be involved in this, and I'm so excited to see everybody at Bluegrass Boost Battle this weekend. Going into these groups, I was tasked with talking about groups 1 and 2, which is groups A and group B, and we got some interesting ones. So funny enough, this video is being filmed on the 12th of February, and as of yesterday, 2 of Akron's 3 players who are coming to BBB just qualified for RLCS. That, I believe, is both Patty and Bullseye. I mean, incredibly talented players, and to be the first collegiate team to make RLCS is incredible. So looking at Group A, I have them going 4-0, and I don't have them dropping a game. I don't think it's going to be too much of a surprise to everybody. Y'all know that I'm a big Georgia State fan, but I just don't see them. I originally, when I was doing this, I saw Georgia State taking a game off them, but after they made RLCS, I switched that pretty quickly. Even though they don't have Tristan and it's Milio is still just as talented of a Rocky League player. He competes with them in the Stride Weeklies, and they won one at the beginning of February. So this roster's good. No matter if Tristan's there or not. So I have them going 4-0, 12-0. So y'all know I'm a big Georgia State fan. I personally have them going 3-1, a 9-4 game record, and the games I have them losing is to Akron, obviously. But I have them dropping an extra one to Alabama. This Alabama roster has been up and down throughout the year, but Trizen, I mean, Rookie of the Year last year for SEL, arguably. An amazing player. Chan's a great captain, and Gray is going to fill his role nicely. He's done well so far this season. I'm excited to see how he does on LAN. I don't know if he's played on LAN before. But I think Alabama, I don't think that they place second in that group. I think they go third, which means they go 2-2 with a 7-6 game record. They lose to GSU, and they lose to Bama. Some of you guys might hate me for having Robert Morris not make it. And look, I know that Rad Moves, Illuminous, and Sheep, I know there are 3 very talented players. But this Bama roster has been up and down for too long, and I don't think that even though this group may be considered to be a quote-unquote group of death, because those are 4 teams who either qualified in the first or the second qualifier, I just don't see it. I don't see Robert Morris winning. And I think their series is going to be close. I have Bama winning that head-to-head 3-2. I have it going all the way to 5, and I have it going 3-2. And I don't think that's a crazy opinion. Again, would love to see me be proven wrong, but I just don't see it. So I have Robert Morris going 1-3, and then obviously, unfortunately for UC Bearcats, I have them going 0-4. So that's Group A. Nothing too crazy. I know that Alabama Robert Morris game, it can be a toss-up, but I think that this entire group will come down to that, which will be in the round 4. So be looking out for that if it's not on stream. All right, so the next group that Bepic tasked me with was looking at Group B. So Group B is fairly easy at the top, but the middle I went back and forth on for days trying to figure this out. I had one team going and winning it in 5 for 2 days, and then now I've had another team going for it in 5. I'm not sure here, but I think we can all very easily say, well, not easily, but I have UTK going 4-0. I do think there's a world where Cumberland pushes them to 5 and maybe picks it up 3-1, but UTK will make the playoffs. I will die on that. I will be crucified for that. UTK will make playoffs. 3-1 is the worst they'll do. I think they take care of business against Purdue Cold, Ohio State Kevin, and UC Bearcats Black. I think that those are all fairly easy games. And again, adding on a guy like Crisp is just absolutely gross for them. This team looks so good. They've beat King, I believe, in 6 on Bepic stream, and they beat Georgia State in 5 on my stream. So this team looks good. I have them going 12-3 though. So I have UTK dropping a game to Ohio State, and I have them dropping 2 to Cumberland. So that then takes me to my next point, is my second seed, my 3-1 team, is Cumberland. This team looks completely different after adding Super Smurf. They are dangerous, they are versatile, and for the first time, at least in my viewing experience in casting, they are playing as a team. And when Cumberland uses their mechanics and starts playing as a team, oh, y'all better watch out because they look good. Super Smurf was a great addition for this team, and I just simply think that they're going to take this 3-1 fairly easily. So I do have them dropping to UTK, but I have them at 11-5. So I have Cumberland dropping a game to Ohio State. I have them dropping 3 to UTK, obviously, but I have that Cumberland UTK series going to 5. And then I have Cumberland dropping 1 to Purdue. So this is where my group predictions might stray a little bit off the path here. Is I know Ohio State is your projected 3rd team in this group, but I'm going to be honest, and people are going to hate me for this. I believe in this Purdue Gold team. They came to BBB last year, took care of business, and I believe they got the 2nd seed in their group. Now, granted, some may argue that the talent wasn't as good last year as it is this year, and that I may partially agree with, but they look so good. This Purdue team is talented. I've seen them perform pretty well this season, and this Ohio State roster I just haven't seen anything out of. And also this roster I don't recognize. Like, I recognize Dan Watt. I don't recognize B-Boys and CJ, but I'm familiar with Enchanted and Duck. But instead of last year they had Plain at BBB, this year they have Ryan, and from what I believe Ryan is the better player. I could be wrong, and oh well. But these are my predictions. We're gonna see how it goes. So I have in the round 4 matchup. This is one of my biggest games to watch the entire weekend. Purdue and Ohio State play, and I do not see a world where that game is not to determine the 3rd seed in Group B. I don't see how either one of those teams upset UTK or Cumberland. And so I really do think that their entire tournament lives will come down to that round 4. And I have it going to 5. I had Ohio State winning for literally the last 3 days up to this video. And as I sat down to make this video, I looked again. I looked at the rosters, and I was like, I can't bet against the upset. I got to have something in my predictions that catches everybody's eyes. And I believe this is the pick that I'm going with. So that's just how I believe it. I think that we end up getting UTK in the 1 seed, Cumberland in the 2 seed, Purdue in the 3 seed, barely getting it over Ohio State Kevin, who will unfortunately be knocked out. And then even more unfortunately, I have UC Bearcats going 0-4. So those are my 2 group predictions. A big thank you to Bepic for having me on as a guest analyst, and I hope that I will be able to bring all of my screaming talent to BBB this weekend. So I'll see y'all there. Safe travels, everybody, and thank you.
And following that wonderful analysis from TJ, we're going to be moving into the predictions part of this video. We've gone top 3 in groups, then top 12, top 4, top 2, and the eventual BBB winner. So starting with group 1, I'll talk about my personal picks and just show the other casters' picks because I'm not going to give them the chance to defend them. I'll have to ask them about it on LAN. But group 1, I've got Akron winning it because it's Akron. They just made RLCS. At least 2/3 of them did. So they should be winning group 1. Georgia State, a not so close second place. I think they'll put up a fight, but I don't think they'll be beating Akron. And then following them up in 3rd, I think Alabama is going to be the team making it out of group 1, just behind Georgia State, because they've been looking really good lately in the SEL, in my Monday Night Lights show matches, and I think they'll just be too much for Cincinnati White and Robert Morris. Then group 2, kind of a similar deal, with UTK being the heavy favorites, in my opinion, to take that one. Crisp has been a massive injection of mechanical skill into that roster, and they're following up a near grand finals appearance in the last BBB after they took Northern Kentucky with Toasty on the roster to Game 7 in the lower semifinal last semester. So now that the roster is upgraded even further, they right now are heavy favorites to win their group. And Cumberland Maroon, good team with the infusion of Super Smurf up from Cumberland Black, but I don't think they'll be beating UTK in the group stage. And then the 3rd seed right here was a really difficult decision for me. I think it's a toss-up between Ohio State and Purdue, and so I'm going Purdue, but I'm pretty hesitant about who I think is going to make it out as that 3rd seed here. And group 3, King, the reigning champs with big weight in place of Turbo. Again, favorites to win their group. Cincinnati could put up a fight. I'm unsure how that series will go, but at the moment, I've got King winning the group. Cincinnati coming up in 2nd, and then Kentucky breaking out of that bottom 3 as the 3rd seed to make it to playoffs. They've looked pretty good so far, like I talked about earlier. This new look roster with Unfriable Apples, the consistent force, has played solidly in the SEL, and I see no reason that they should be losing to Cumberland Black and Northern Kentucky enough to where they don't get out of this group. Now, group 4, I think, is definitely the closest group at the top of it, but I think that in terms of the top 3 in this group, it's pretty easy to predict South Carolina, Concord, and UAH Blue as the 3 teams breaking out. Western and Kentucky and Mount Aloysius will have to pull off some big upsets, in my opinion, to make it to day 2. Just in terms of who's going to win, that I honestly have no idea. I'm going to say South Carolina, just sticking with the seeding right here, but between the top 3 teams in Group 4, it could be either of them. So now that you've seen our top 12 predictions after day 1, we're going to be so brave as to pick the top 4 playing in the semifinals at the end of day 2. For me, I think Akron and UTK are locks. King is about as close to a lock as the rest of the field could get. And then, in my opinion, I think Georgia State is the 4th best team at LAN this semester. But if they place 2nd in their group, which I'm figuring they will, being in the group with Akron, they would have to play UTK in the round of 8 in the single elimination bracket. And I think UTK wins that, having the head-to-head tiebreaker already set with their SCL match a couple of weeks ago. And so I think Georgia State, despite being one of my top 4 teams, is going to bow out in the round of 8. So Cincinnati, I would have next up there. I think they'll make the semifinals, but it's between a lot of teams right there. Cumberland could do it, South Carolina could do it, Concord could do it, UAH Blue could do it. So Cincinnati, just a narrow favorite of mine to make it to the semifinals. And then from the semis, UTK and Akron are the obvious top 2, and I think Akron is the obvious favorite. I would be surprised if many people didn't have Akron as the straight-up favorite, even between them and UTK. So they're my winner for BBB Spring 2024, but it's going to be a fun LAN. The competition has never been closer at BBB, and so it's going to be a fun weekend. I'll see you there. Make sure to say hi, even if we've never met before. I'm always down to talk Rocket League, especially Southeastern Collegiate Rocket League. So, I've Mr. Bepic. I'll see you there.